We start with some NFL rumors, namely, Mitchell, did Sean Payton mark the skull chant in the playoff game?
Oh, 100%, Tom, no doubt.
Giving that one 4 Goodell heads. We have the photo evidence prove it here in a little bit on the show. Next up, is Mike Munchak going to be the Cardinals head coach, Mitchell?
I don't know, man. I don't think Big Ben wants it. I don't think he does.
Giving it 2 Goodell heads because there's another candidate also getting a second interview, John DeFilippo. Getting a second interview with the Cardinals, the current Eagles quarterback's coach.
That's the guy I'd go with, Tom. He's my favorite in my opinion.
All right, some more rumors here coming up at you again. 2 Goodell heads on the DeFilippo to the Arizona Cardinals. More coaching stuff for you. Do some of the Pittsburgh Steelers owners want to fire Mike Tomlin?
I think they do, but I would tell them, who else are you going to hire? Who's better than Mike Tomlin?
3 Goodell heads on that one. We'll have more on that coming up for you on the show. Next up, is Ben McAdoo going to go be the Browns offensive coordinator, Mitchell?
Is there hair gel in Cleveland, Tom?
2 heads on this one here for this particular rumor. I will give you another candidate coming up here in a little bit. And then our last rumor, do the Broncos really want Baker Mayfield, Mitchell?
I would love to see him go there. Top-selling jersey in May. I'm calling it right now if it happens.
3 Goodell heads on this one will tell you why the Senior Bowl is playing has a big impact on this one in just a little bit. It's NFL Daily coming up right now.
Man crates, awesome gifts for men in real wooden crates, wrapped in a cocoon of duct tape, or housed in ammo cans that are virtually indestructible. Some gifts he'll get to assemble himself. Some gifts you'll beg him to share. And some gifts are sealed inside layers of rock-solid concrete. Gifts guys love, from grilling gear to old-school video games and more. Man crates, awesome gifts for men.
Hello, friends, and welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. We have a great show for you guys today. We're going to take an in-depth look at the top 25 free agents for this year's NFL offseason, and we're going to go into some in-depth NFL rumors as well.
Oh, man, it's going to be an awesome, awesome show. The ending of the show, I can't wait to get into some of these players and the NFL rumors. I've been working hard on these, and I know you have been too, Tom, so this is going to be an awesome show, guys.
All right, free agents coming up later on in the show, but we are going to start with some NFL rumors, and we use the Goodell scale as well for this show. It is the scale of believability. If there are no Goodell heads, that means what we're talking about, it's fake news. That rumor is not at all accurate. 1 Goodell head means there is a small shred of truth. 2 Goodell heads means the people are talking, but it's firmly in the rumor category. 3 Goodell heads, it is more probable than not. And 4 Goodell heads means it's fact news, not fake news, but fact news.
Fact news, I love it.
All right, let's jump into these rumors then. We start with our number 1 rumor. Did Sean Payton mock the skull chant for Minnesota, Mitchell?
I think he did, Tom. I mean, when you look at it, when you watch it, to me, they have Alvin Kamara on the Saints, and this is just the definition of sweet, sweet, like, karma. Like, it's amazing.
This one absolutely happened here. Here's the video of Sean Payton doing it. And Payton also came out and said today that, yeah, and he called it, quote, good playoff fun, which I guess is the NFL equivalent of, nah, guys, I was just joking. It was just a prank, bro. That's what Sean Payton's doing here.
I mean, I would have done the same thing. I mean, what happened in that game? Can you really doubt him?
No, I wouldn't do the same thing because he's an NFL head coach.
Who cares? Like, I love the passion.
Come on, man.
I want to have passion. Like, I want to have that fieriness in my coach, and that's what makes Sean Payton, I think, great.
Look, Sean Payton kind of did something similar when he maybe made a choking motion at Devonta Freeman against the Falcons. I am not a huge fan of Sean Payton doing this. He's kind of a jerk. Like let's not mince words here.
No.
This is kind of who he is.
Yeah, you can be a jerk, but you can be a successful jerk, and he's been a successful jerk throughout his career.
Good point.
So
good point.
I'm going to tip my cap to you, Sean.
All right, let's get now to some more coaching rumors. These next 2 are focused on the Arizona Cardinals. Mike Munchak, is he going to be the next coach, Mitchell?
There's a chance, Tom. I mean, he's getting a second interview. I mean, when you see a coach get a second interview, a lot of times that's definitely not a bad thing.
All right, 2 Goodell heads on this one. He's one of 2 guys that we know of getting a second interview, so we're leaving this firmly in the rumor category. I don't think Munchak is the the odds-on favorite right now, but I also think Arizona is moving at a much slower pace compared to other teams, and they're also bringing in John DeFilippo for a second interview. So is he the favorite, Mitchell, or is this also two Goodell heads?
I think this one's also two Goodell heads, Tom. However, I think DeFilippo is the better candidate than a guy like Munchak. I wouldn't be surprised if Munchak stays in Pittsburgh and could be the offensive coordinator there, but DeFilippo, he's done a lot with the Eagles, so I like that.
All right, so there you have it there with the Cardinals. Two Goodell heads for both Mike Munchak and John DeFilippo. Let's get to a weigh-in now as well. And Mitchell, if you were the Cardinals GM and if you're the owner and you're in charge of making this decision, who would you hire as head coach?
Well, let me first just say the Cardinals, I love what they're doing. They're letting the dominoes fall. They're kind of just sitting back, letting teams see what's going on. From what I've gone through, Tom, I would like DeFilippo to go there. He's done great with Carson Wentz and his Eagles, but what I really liked about it is he's formed an offense. He's formed an offense around the quarterback that Carson Wentz has been, and I think DeFilippo can do the exact same thing in Arizona because they're going to have to get a quarterback.
I actually disagree with you when you said the Cardinals are taking the right approach. They have missed out on Pat Shermer most likely and Josh McDaniels.
Okay.
I don't mind having a deliberate search, but in the coaching world, I don't like, oh, we'll just wait and get whoever falls. Like, I would much rather a team go and say, hey, this is who we want. Let's go get them like the Raiders did, even though they probably violated the NFL rooting rule.
Yeah, they probably did, but we're not going to say that, I guess. I think, though, when you look at the Cardinals, maybe they didn't sit back. Maybe teams and coaches didn't want to go there. They're like, who do you have playing quarterback? No idea. You have David Johnson and a 34-year-old Larry Fitzgerald. Why would I want to coach there when there's other options? In bigger markets on the East Coast, maybe it's the Cardinals not sitting back. Maybe it's teams that want to go there.
All right, folks, get those comments flowing. We'll get back now to our news and a rumor roundup. This number 4 here, one of the bigger ones from today. The Steelers owners want to fire Mike Tomlin, Mitchell. We're giving this one 3 Goodell heads for a couple of different reasons. One, we do believe that they want to fire him, but it's also the minority owners. And what that means is when they go talk to the big owner, the Roonies, they're probably going to say, no. So they do want to, but it's the minority owners. This one is this in particular rumor, 3 Goodell heads, but it's probably not going to happen.
And I don't see why the Steelers minority owners want to fire him. Here's a guy who's 45-19, Tom, over the last 3 seasons. And his 11 years of coaching, guess how many seasons he has under 500?
0.
All right, why are you going to fire Mike Tomlin? Good luck finding somebody else new if you really want to do that.
All right, folks, get those reactions flowing in here. Should the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin? A like for no and a laughing face for yes. Mitchell, I agree with you. They should not fire Mike Tomlin because they're not going to find anyone better out on the open market unless they think it's Mike Munchak, and it's not. But at the same time, I actually do believe that Mike Tomlin is very overrated as a head coach.
Okay, no, and I can agree with that too because I think he has a Super Bowl ring, but that happened very early in Big Ben's career as well. So, but I mean, 7 postseason games, 3 wins, 4 losses, recently in the last 3 years. So I think Tomlin's a good coach. I think he's a locker room guy, but is he overrated? He might be, especially when you got guys like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Now we'll get to some more rumors here. Also on the coaching search, it's kind of the main topic of interest right now around the NFL outside of the playoffs. Ben McAdoo. Is he going to go be the Cleveland Browns OC?
All right, so
producer Brett Scott is face-palming, double face-palming right now.
So I'm guilty of this as well. As soon as I heard this, I tweeted this out and it said, as a Cleveland Browns fan, you're saying, all right, we went 0-16. How can things get worse? The Cleveland Browns basically handed them their beer and said, hold this. We're going to go interview Ben McAdoo. Then I dove into the numbers a little bit further, Tom. He's actually been a decent offensive coordinator. Sure, he was an awful head coach. Decent offensive coordinator. In 2014 and 2015, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, only quarterbacks that have over 30 touchdowns both those years.
It's not bad then, but we're giving this one only 2 Goodell heads because he is not the only former head coach with interest in Cleveland. Also, keep an eye on one Mike Mularkey.
That's a bunch of
because
malarkey.
Cleveland just wants the fired head coaches to be their OCs, I guess.
Only the finest in Cleveland. Only the finest.
All right, one more rumor here for you guys. Do the Broncos want Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield? We're giving this one 3 Goodell heads because the Broncos staff, who was coaching at the Senior Bowl, specifically asked to have Baker Mayfield on the North team, the team that they're coaching.
Tom, I'm getting that tingle in a certain area that just kind of gets me fired up. and it's you know that butterfly feeling you get in your stomach? That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting with Baker Mayfield going to the Denver Broncos. I would love to see this. If he goes to the Denver Broncos, I'm getting a Denver Bronco Baker Mayfield jersey. Love it.
Yeah, so we're only giving this one 3 good heads, not 4, because I do think there's a chance that they could look into some free agent quarterbacks, which we'll get to here in just a little bit. First, a comment, though, coming in from one Brian Bennett. Brian says how the Raiders interviewed T. Martin, which they did. They also interviewed a member of their former coaching staff. The potential issue for the Raiders is those interviews came after they fired Jack Del Rio, and the owner Davis basically said, hey, we only fired him knowing we were going to get John Gruden, which at that point indicates that they didn't really follow the spirit of the Rooney Rule, and that's where the violation could have occurred.
Correct.
Some more comments here flowing in. This one from Brittany Martin. Hey, what about the Panthers? Brittany, not a ton of rumors around Carolina because much of the staff is intact, plus Norv Turner has already been hired as the OC. But they do have some free agents, so stay tuned. We'll talk about a few Panthers players coming up in a little bit. One reminder that today's show is brought to you by Man Crates. If you know an awesome guy who needs a gift, get him a Man Crate at mancrates.com. Mitchell, I know that you're a huge fan.
Oh, I love it. I mean, do you like to eat?
Yes.
Do you like to drink?
Oh, yeah.
Do you like sports?
Yes.
Then I 100% guarantee there's a Man Crate for you.
Nice. I like
there's a Man Crate for any guy in your life. Dad, I'm going to hook you up for your birthday.
There you go.
Yeah, I got you.
You just forgot when your dad's birthday was.
Yeah, don't tell him.
All right, well, I think it's a little bit late there. All right, folks, up next we have some top free agents here, 25 players in total. I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. We'll get the top 25 in a little bit, but first, we do want to take you through the guys who had just missed the cut, and then we'll get into those top 25. There are a lot more than just 25 players available in this year's free agent crop. So we're looking at some of the guys who just missed out, and there are more guys that are going to be notable free agents as well. The first 5 guys who just missed it: Morgan Burnett, a Packers safety who played a lot of nickel corner this year; Dion Lewis, the Patriots halfback; Mark Keesley, the Jaguars receiver; Tyler Eifert of the Bengals; and then Eric Reed of the Niners. Anyone who jumps out to you, Mitchell?
It's Tyler Eifert for me that really jumps off the page. I mean, I think from a talent standpoint, Eifert sticks out because I think he's one of the best athletic tight ends in the league. It's just the man can't stay healthy. And at the end of the day, if you're not available to play on Sundays, that's an issue.
There's a big issue there. So those are some of the guys who just missed the cut. Quite a few other guys also sitting out there just outside that list. But with those guys out of the way, we will now move into the top 25 free agents this year in the NFL offseason. And we will start at number 25, and we'll go on the offensive side of the ball here, Mitchell, with running back Carlos Hyde, who had a pretty solid year for the 49ers in Kyle Shanahan's scheme.
He surprised me. I mean, I thought he played extremely well, and the thing that really surprised me was his ability to catch the ball. He was a running back coming into the season where we thought he could only run. Showed that he had reliable hands, Tom.
All right, so the question around Hyde is, will he re-sign with the 49ers? You see 4 teams that are likely interested. This will change throughout the offseason when someone gets signed. Let's say a team like the 49ers signs a different halfback. Well, no longer have interest in 49ers. And again, folks, there are more than just 4 teams interested. So I apologize in advance for not putting the guy that you love a whole lot, or that not listing him as a team potential target there. So Carlos Hyde checks in at number 25, which brings us to kind of more of a philosophical debate, Mitchell. Would you rather draft a halfback early, be it a Leonard Fournette or Ezekiel Elliott, or maybe a Darius Geis or Saquon Barkley this year, or go out and sign someone like Carlos Hyde?
I think that's a great question for me. I'm going to draft a running back. This past year, we saw rookie running backs enter the NFL and just explode. Now, I don't know if we're going to see that again, but when you go, if you could go out and get a guy like a Saquon Barkley, who I absolutely love, I think you can absolutely do that. The thing that scares me with Carlos Hyde is the injuries. This was the first year he actually stayed healthy. Coming into last year, Tom, he missed 20 games the past 2 seasons. So anytime you see a running back who, sure, he's like 25, 26 years old, but he's battled several injuries, that's going to start taking a toll, and one good year does not supplement all the years we've seen him being injured.
All right, folks, keep those comments flowing. I will take option C, not listed, spend a bunch of mid-round picks on halfbacks and use a committee.
Touche.
I will cheat.
Touche.
All right, we'll keep it rolling now with our top 25 NFL free agents into number 24 now. We'll go to the defensive side of the ball at number 24, Patrick Robinson, the Eagles cornerback, signed really a very cheap contract entering this year, and had a great year for Philadelphia.
He had a great year, no doubt. 47 tackles, which to me tells me he can go up, he can make the tackle, which I think a lot of times cornerbacks can't do. He also had 4 interceptions, but he is very good cover corner, Tom.
And I think teams like the Rams and the Chiefs, especially the Chiefs, who really need a number 2 cornerback. Robinson might be a little bit cheaper. He was the number 6 corner this year per PFF, but he's been inconsistent throughout his career. There was a reason he signed a very cheap 1-year deal with the Eagles. So it's the consistency that's a bit of an issue for Patrick Robinson.
He can also play out of the slot, though, and he can kind of cover those, I'll say, quick twitch wide receivers very well, which is at times very hard to find, especially with an NFL right now going to a much quicker offense, especially from a passing standpoint.
We'll get now from number 24 into number 23 on our top free agents list. At number 23, defensive tackle Star Loutlelei, who did not have the year everyone thought he was going to. Frankly, this was maybe his worst NFL season. He was not the same player.
I was just going to say that. I mean, here was a guy coming into the season who I absolutely loved. I would have said he was one of the best defensive tackles maybe in the league. He was just he could just disrupt the run. I mean, he was just such a big force coming up the middle. He did have a disappointing year, but I think this was the first year he's been very disappointing.
Yeah, so he is a little bit lower than he would have been entering the year.
Correct.
He's a bit more of a run stuffer, not a true pass rusher guy. But if you're a team that needs a big run stuffer like the Bills, who traded away Marcel Darius, the Chiefs have Benny Logan as a free agent, or the Falcons, who have Dontari Poe, hint, hint, you'll see him in a little bit. Those are potential teams that could have interest in Loutlelei. As with the Panthers, remember, they drafted Vernon Butler not that long ago to eventually replace one of their defensive tackles. Quan Short re-signed. Star might end up leaving.
And especially then when you also see guys like their head coach or defensive coordinator, my mistake, Steve Wilkes being rumored to leave. Maybe he might decide to walk as well.
Speaking of the Panthers, Brittany back with a comment here. It says that Cam Newton is staying with the Panthers, but she's heard that Thomas Davis is leaving. Next year will be his last year. So he is going to stay for one more year, then he's going to call it a career. So he's not a free agent, and he's going to be back with Carolina for one more season.
One more year.
All right, folks, once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz, as we're taking you through the top 25 NFL free agents for this offseason. We'll keep it rolling now in our top 25 list and go to number 22 as we move on the trenches, but to the offensive side of the ball. Nate Solder, the left tackle for the New England Patriots.
He might have the most important job in the NFL, and that's keeping Tom Brady upright. Nate Solder, I absolutely love. Here's a guy who just shows up to play every single week, and he protects Tom Brady. I don't know if anybody has a more important job, Tom.
And I think with the Patriots offense getting the ball out quickly, I think that actually helps Solder's grade a little bit. He didn't fare quite as well in terms of the grades from Pro Football Focus, just 34th, had a bit of a down year. Worth mentioning that he is going to draw interest. I'm kind of surprised the Patriots didn't extend him in the season. He's been a 7-year starter, but a team like the Colts, who are bringing over Josh McDaniels, a team like the Bengals or Giants just have a massive need at this position.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, though. Like, the Patriots get the ball out quick. The one thing that I will say about Soldier is he kind of is robotic to me. He's just kind of like this blocky figure. If he goes to a team like the Colts that like the really long step backs and try to air the ball out, I don't know if he will be as effective as he is in New England.
Now let's get down to number 21 on our top 25 NFL free agents for this offseason. And we go to the defensive side of the ball, cornerback Kyle Fuller, who really had a career-changing year. And there was a point last year where Kyle Fuller missed the year with an injury, and some of the Bears staff and reporters have kind of said, hey, he might not actually be all that hurt. It might be a mental thing. There had been some reports that he just wasn't getting along well with the staff, but he came back this year and had a massive bounce-back year, ton of pass breakups, graded as the number 22 cornerback overall. He's going to have a lot of interest this offseason.
I could argue that Kyle Fuller is one of the most underrated defensive players in the NFL. Just like everybody, I think when they think of the Bears, people just kind of are like, meh. They don't really consider the Bears a legit team. Kyle Fuller is a great cornerback, and the Bears are one of the most underrated defenses in this league because of guys like Kyle Fuller.
All right, if you missed it, there are the first 5 guys who discussed: Carlos Hyde, Patrick Robinson, Star Loutlelei, Nate Solder, and Kyle Fuller. So we'll get now into our top 20 NFL free agents for this offseason, and we get our first quarterback on the list, and it is Sam Bradford of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, maybe you're wondering, hey, why is Sam Bradford only at 20? Why is he not higher? Couple main reasons. And the first big one, injury history. He can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
So would you really want a quarterback of Sam Bradford's age who barely played this year and hasn't played all 16 games since 2012? My answer is you would like him, but you're not going to pay top dollar. That's why he ranks behind other notable quarterbacks.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you like to play at Vegas, let's say, and you can try to get the Sam Bradford that the Vikings got last year, who set the NFL completion record, you're going to get a steal. But here's a guy who's literally his entire career has not been able to stay healthy and has multiple knee injuries. That's something that me personally, Tom, I don't want to invest in.
Yeah. All right, so you see the teams interested there, the Cardinals, Broncos, Jags, and, of course, the Vikings. You're going to see those last three kind of rotate in and out as we discuss quarterbacks because there's a very clear need for several teams at quarterback. I would expect Bradford to be a starter somewhere, but I don't really know where he's going to end up at quite yet.
Yeah, I've been juggling around as well. I've actually heard that he might go to Arizona, but I would kind of be surprised.
I mean, Arizona might end up with multiple Vikings quarterbacks because they have nothing at the position. All right, so Bradford at number 20. Let's get then to number 19 on our list. We'll go back to the defensive side of the ball. How about defensive tackle Dontari Poe, who had a solid year for the Atlanta Falcons as that big nose guard.
I believe he's the biggest man ever to score a touchdown in the NFL. I think when he scored for a touchdown for the Chiefs, I believe he's the biggest man ever scored a touchdown. Regardless, though, he just disrupts the run so well, Poe. He's one of the largest men in the NFL. Just when he can get after the quarterback, too, here's a guy who has an unbelievable motor. I think a team would be very, very lucky to get a guy like him.
I mean, Poe is who he is. He is a run stopper. He'll occasionally get a sack or two, but he's not going to be a Aaron Donald type disruptor, which is why he ranks a little bit lower. There's a need for a nose guard in the NFL and a run stopper, but they don't get as much value and money on the open market. And that's kind of why you saw Poe wait so long last year. He didn't get picked up immediately. He had to wait quite a while to get that offer from the Falcons. And it wasn't the offer that he really wanted either.
Correct. I mean, when you look at numbers for tackles, I mean, especially Poe gets double-teamed almost every single time hike is called. So I think what he can give, though, to a team who's wants to blitz a little bit more, maybe in like a 3-4 scheme, I think that would be great.
All right, let's keep it rolling here now. We'll stick on the lines, but we'll go to the offensive side of the ball with Justin Pugh, who can play guard and tackle for the Giants. The issue for Justin is he missed a lot of time this year with injuries, and that's going to help drive his value down. But in another year of a down offensive line class, he's going to have quite a bit of interest.
He's going to have interest, and I think the Giants need to get him back. I mean, the Giants' offensive line this season was one of the worst in the entire league. If they could get a guy back like Pugh, who's just been in the system now for a few years, who has been, I think, probably the Giants' most reliable offensive line.
Without a doubt.
Is not saying a lot, but just to have some sort of continuity on that offensive line, I think was definitely missed for the Giants this season.
Has been best as a guard, but can play right tackle if needed as well. Speaking of the Giants, Weston Richburg, the center, was one of their first guys to miss the cut as well. So Justin at 18, let's get now to number 17 as we move back into the quarterback discussions. How about one Teddy Bridgewater, the former high draft pick, but has hardly played since that devastating leg injury? What do you make of Bridgewater going forward, Mitchell?
If he's healthy, he will be an absolute steal, and I think he is a franchise quarterback. If he's not healthy, yeah, you're going to deal with a quarterback who, unfortunately, his career was devastated by a horrific leg injury. But coming out of the draft, he was amazing for Louisville, and I think he played very well as a rookie.
First 2 years were solid.
I mean, he was. I think he did exactly what you told him to. And I think that's what a team is going to want when they get Teddy Bridgewater.
We'll talk more about Case Keenum here in a little bit, but with Bridgewater, it's kind of the risk versus the reward. He's not going to get I don't think he'll get a big money contract. You might see a very incentive-laden one, but I think teams are going to value him a little bit more because he's younger. He still has potential to be a franchise quarterback. And if you're a team like the Cardinals, the Bills, or the Jags, or any team that kind of has a stopgap already in place, I think you would look hard at Bridgewater and say, hey, can we bring him in, let him kind of work his way back to being what we saw in the past. He was not NFL, really, truly NFL ready and back to full form this year. So I think the upside is there for Bridgewater, but it's carrying quite a bit of risk as well.
I mean, also, he was mobile, but I don't think he was ever a quarterback who looked to run first. Like
he was never that.
But that's what I mean. And I think people always think like, oh, he was that type of quarterback. He wasn't. He's always been a pocket passer. Sure, you like to have a guy who can run a little bit more, but that's going to come with time. I think a big part of it when you see an injury like that is confidence. All
right, let's get then to number 16 here as we don't even change positions or NFL teams either as we stick with Case Keenum, who, and I will gladly say this multiple times, wildly impressed me this year. Didn't look anything like the guy we saw with the Texans or the Rams.
I mean, who was this guy? I mean, it was amazing to see his transformation just from a year. My hat goes off to Shermer. My hat goes off to Mike Zimmer. Like, they totally transformed this guy's career. Sure, he didn't play all that great. We'll say last week, 316 yards and a touchdown, but he's done just enough. And when he's needed to play well, he's played well. But I think he's going to go wherever Shermer goes. That's my opinion, Tom.
All right, so Case Keenum is currently 29 years old, but he's going to turn 30 just like Sam Bradford is. So the question is, for Mitchell and everyone watching, which Vikings quarterback would you most want to sign? Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, or Teddy Bridgewater?
Whew, man. If you had asked me this question at the beginning of the year, this would have been a heck of a head-scratcher. I'm going to go with Case Keenum. From what he showed me this year, and from what I've seen him coming out of Houston, I think he can still sling the ball, and I think he finally got his confidence back. He needs to be obviously in a right scheme where, like the Vikings with a good defense and a solid running game, I'm going to go Case Keenum. 30 years old is not that old in the NFL. I'm gonna take the guy like Keenum.
So I will go maybe a little bit rogue here. I will go with my boy Teddy Bridgewater. I was a big fan of him coming out, and I do it because if I'm looking for a quarterback, I don't just want a stopgap. And I think that's, at this point, what Case Keenum and Sam Bradford are. They're going to give you a couple years, but they are not going to be a long-term quarterback for you. Bridgewater is still just 25 years old. If he comes back healthy, you have a franchise quarterback, so I'm willing to take the risk there and go a little rogue and risky and get a guy like Bridgewater, hoping he can be my guy for several years to come, not just a couple of years.
If there's a guy that I'm rooting for, it's Teddy Bridgewater.
It's fair. All right, for those of you just joining us, here are the top 25 NFL free agents that we've discussed so far. Carlos Hyde at 25, Patrick Robinson at 24, Panthers DT Star Loutlelei at 23, Nate Solder at 22, Kyle Fuller checks in at number 21, and then number 20 is Sam Bradford, 19 is Dontari Poe, Justin Pugh at number 18, Teddy Bridgewater at 17, and then we just left off with Case Keenum at number 16. Once again, folks, I'm Tom Downey. If you need a gift for that special guy in your life, get him a man crate at mancrates.com. Awesome gifts that guys love. Barware, jerky grams, and so much more, Mitchell.
If you don't know who that special guy is, Tom, or if you don't know what he likes, they make it super easy for you. Go on the website, mancrates.com. You can click on their best sellers, and you're going to be able to see what everybody likes.
All right, comment here coming in from Corey says, Bell and Landry to the Panthers bank it. Corey, let me know how much you want to bet, and I will double it for you, my man, because neither of those players, I think, will end up in Carolina. Lev Bell's not escaping to Pittsburgh. Landry could make some sense, but we've seen the Panthers kind of already have their short middle of the field guys in Christian McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel.
I don't see how Landry fits whatsoever with what Cam Newton and that offense wants to do.
We'll talk about those players later on in the show, though, guys, so don't worry. Randy here chiming in says if Case goes to free agency, he hopes the Bills grant him. I think that makes pretty good sense as a fit.
Yeah, I like that fit as well. I mean, if the Bills and LaShawn McCoy is healthy and they can run the ball and they can lean on that defense, the only issue is the wide receivers there.
Yeah. All right, one more comment here coming in from Dale says, what about Alex Smith? Alex Smith is not a free agent. He is, however, a possible trade candidate. So like this page, NFL Daily by Chat Sports, because we'll go through all the potential trade candidates on a later show. So once again, folks, like the page. You'll be notified when we go live. So we'll talk about that later in the offseason. Don't you worry. Well, let's get back now to the top NFL free agents of this offseason. And we'll get now a little bit further along into the top 15. And we start with a wide receiver, Sammy Watkins. Mitchell, what do you make of Watkins?
What do I make of Watkins? So when he came out of Clemson, I was like, this guy is amazing. He was unbelievable. Entering this season, Tom, for the Buffalo Bills, I was super, super high on Watkins. Then he went to the Rams, and I was like, oh no. This is just total doom fest for Sammy Watkins. If you would have told me that Sammy Watkins would have had only 39 catches, 538 yards, and the Rams would have led the league in touchdowns and scoring, I would have said you're crazy. But it happened.
So 8 TDs for Sammy. He's an interesting player because he always gets a ton of attention, but at a certain point, you got to see that attention produce more. He has to just produce. Robert Woods got all the yards this year.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp stepped up. Robert Woods was great. And then Todd Gurley was probably the best receiver on the team. So, like, to me, Sammy Watkins was the 4th best receiver on the best offense. I don't want to say the best offense, the highest scoring offense in the NFL. But he's got the pedigree. He's still, 24 years old?
He's young.
He's still super raw, I think. Sammy Watkins, if he can stay healthy, I still think he has so So much potential.
And you see the teams, like they understood, only have the Rams. They're expected to franchise tag him this offseason, so he's not going to end up going anywhere. Let's keep it rolling now to number 14, but we're not going to switch teams, Mitchell. We're going to go to the other side of the ball at cornerback, Trumaine Johnson. What do you think of him as a player, and what do you think the Rams should do with him?
I love Trumaine Johnson. Again, here's a guy who is super underrated, but he's a guy who can play, not only he can play the slot, but he could also like straight up man and just be really, really physical, which I think is tough to find, but in that division you need to be that. He can go up and tackle, 65 tackles there. Thing that we talk so much about this offense of the Rams. Trumaine Johnson is an unbelievable corner.
He graded out as only the 69th cornerback in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus.
I think he's much better than that.
It's a little bit deceptive because the Rams overall, and I think this is a big potential issue this offseason for LA, what are they going to do about the cornerback spot? Because they really don't have a lot going on. They've got Trumaine Johnson, and Nikhil Roby-Coleman is a nice nickel guy, but Troy Hill, they really put Johnson on an island. He did okay, and they did lose, drawing a blank on the guy that they lost injury this year, but the Rams are a little thin right now at cornerback. That's a concern. If they lose Johnson, we've talked about some other corners, they're going to look at a lot of different guys that they might need to bring in to help replace him.
That's what I mean. Like when you get put on an island, only solid cornerbacks can actually do that. And then when you give the other names that they have, I think that puts even more stress on Johnson. I think Johnson's a good corner.
Kayvon Webster, by the way, was the name of the corner I couldn't remember earlier. He was there, who came over from Denver. Keep an eye on the Browns. They need a corner. And don't forget that former Rams DC Greg Williams is now in Cleveland. Just a little tie there. I think a team like the Jets or the Niners with Johnson's size could fit well scheme-wise. So Johnson at number 14. Let's get then to number 13. We went receiver, cornerback. Now we're going to go back to receiver in Allen Robinson. Unfortunately, an injury this year kind of hurt his stock. Now there are questions around how will he be once he comes back. And I think with Allen Robinson in particular, if you want a non-slot receiver, this is your guy that's actually attainable, unlike maybe a Sammy Watkins.
Unfortunately, I mean, yeah, the ACL tear definitely scares you a little bit, but Allen Robinson is a huge physical specimen at the wide receiver position. And I think we forget at times, sure, he had a disappointing 2016, but his 2015, Tom, was unbelievable. He was tied for the NFL lead with 14 touchdowns. I mean, 80 catches. 1,400 yards with Blake Bortles before Blake Bortles was, apparently good. So
garbage time, Blake Bortles, the king of all quarterbacks.
I mean, still though, I mean, Allen Robinson out of Penn State was a guy that I absolutely loved. He can go up, he can get the ball, he's physical. I think he's one of the best wide receivers from a talent standpoint in the NFL.
So any team that needs a receiver, I think, will have interest in Allen Robinson. I saw quite a few comments about Carolina. The issue here, and I think this is a good time to bring this up, for a lot of these teams, they're just not going to have the money.
Yep.
A team like Carolina's got $15 million in cap space, plus some guys they got to bring back, plus you got to sign your draft picks. So money's going to be an issue there. But I think a team like the San Francisco 49ers, that makes a lot of sense for Allen Robinson.
And they have so much money to blow.
$119 million in cap space.
Lord.
Almost unbelievable, folks. Once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz as we take you through the top 25 NFL free agents this offseason. We just showed you Allen Robinson. Let's keep it rolling now as we move to the defensive side of the ball at number 12. It is defensive tackle Sheldon Richardson. Mitchell, what do you think of Richardson as a player overall?
As a player overall, well, from what I've heard in the locker room, he's a great player in the locker room, but also the Jets, he really wanted to go back to the Jets, so I'd be interested to see, or he never wanted to leave the Jets, and I think he wants to go back there, so I'd be interested to see if he goes there, but he's just a disruptive force in the middle. I did used to work for the Jets a little bit in college, and I used to always tell the story. When Richardson was first drafted, he used to push around this sled that me and the interns used to try to move. 4 of us couldn't move it, and the dude would just toss it around like it's a beanbag. Unbelievably strong. Love watching Sheldon Richardson.
There have been some conflicting reports on his desire to rejoin the Jets. There was one from the New York Daily News that said he wanted to rejoin, and then a Seattle people said no, he's not really interested. I think a team that wants maybe a bit of a more run-stuffing guy, because Richardson can rush passer, but he hasn't been that effective of late. But if you're looking for a reliable defensive tackle, which is what he was, 27th this year among interior defensive linemen per PFF, he's going to draw quite a bit of interest this year. He's going to get a pretty hefty contract as well.
And I think he should. I think he's also like a massive mountain of a man who's very long and lanky. And he's not, I don't think, built like your typical defensive tackle. I think he's a little bit lankier. So I love Richardson. I think he has a bright future.
All right, Richardson there at number 12 among NFL free agents this offseason. Let's get now to number 11. Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, Malcolm Butler, who so badly wanted to leave last year, didn't quite fare as well this year for the Patriots.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't really know what to think of Malcolm Butler. Like, there's some games where I'm like, this kid is amazing. He shows up and he plays. And then there's other games I watch and I'm like, man, what are you doing out there? Stephon Gilmore, like, struggled a little bit earlier in the season, but kind of put it on at the end. And I think it was the exact opposite for Butler. Here's a guy who I thought played a little bit better in the beginning and then kind of like fell off at the end. But again, he's so small, he really struggles against big receivers.
I'll throw this out that Patriots are often in a rough spot for their corners because they don't have the great pass rushers.
Yep.
They don't have that type of guy.
Especially
Butler,
linebackers too, this year they struggled.
I think he would have been higher at the start of this year. But he's kind of dropped a little bit. He's now out to the top 10. But those are the top corners this year that we just recently ran through. So which one would you want to sign first? Malcolm Butler, Trumaine Johnson, Patrick Robinson, or Kyle Fuller? Money is no object, by the way, Mitchell. Ooh. Which one are you picking? So you are not hamstrung by cap space.
I feel like it's kind of a cheat to go with Malcolm Butler, but I think I am going to go with Malcolm Butler. I mean, I still believe that he is the most talented out of the bunch. And he's, I think, the best cover corner. He might not be the best tackler, and sure, he struggles against big receivers, but I think he can play a lot of different positions, and he fits into multiple defensive schemes, in my opinion.
All right, so folks, keep those reaction votes flowing in here throughout the show. We're going to take you back now to the top 25 free agents, plus 5 who missed the cut. You see the 5 up there: Morgan Burnett, Dion Lewis, Marquise Lee, Tyler Eifert, and Eric Reed. Bunch of other guys who also missed out, but those were the 5 most notable names in our eyes. Top 25 were Carlos Hyde, Patrick Robinson, Star Loutlelei, Nate Solder, and Kyle Fuller. And then at number 20 was Sam Bradford, Dontari Poe, Justin Pugh, Teddy Bridgewater, and Case Keenum. That was the Vikings quarterback version. Sammy Watkins at number 15, Trumaine Johnson at 14, Allen Robinson at 13, Sheldon Richardson at 12, and then at number 11, the guy we just discussed, Malcolm Butler, cornerback of the New England Patriots. Some comments here flowing in, folks. Keep them coming. This one coming in from Abel Stimson says, what is Josh Gordon's status for the Browns? Is he going to test free agency? No, he will not. And Josh Gordon has had a really weird contract situation with the Browns. So 2012 and a rookie, he accrued a season. Keep in mind, to reach free agency, you have to have so many accrued years. 2013 was a year. 14 was a little iffy. 15 he was banned. 16, everything kind of got reset because he wasn't playing, didn't accrue a season. So as things stand right now, the Browns can tag Josh Gordon as an exclusive rights free agent. Now, what that means is when Josh Gordon says, hey, I want a new contract, Cleveland says, cool, here is your basically minimum salary contract. You can either play under it or not play at all. So he is not going to be able to hit the open market. He is going to be with the Browns next year, or if they want to trade him. So that's where he's at. So he does not qualify for this top free agent list. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't be. He'd probably be in the top 10, I think.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable wide receiver. And I mean, when you can not play for the amount of years that he did and just enter in the league, it just shows how just unbelievably athletic you are.
All right, so let's get in then to the top 10 now, folks. And at number 10, we're going to go back to the offensive side of the ball. How about Jimmy Graham, who really wasn't used properly by the Seahawks, but he is now a free agent. What do you make of Graham if you're a team that needs a tight end?
If you need a red zone tight end, I mean, it's Jimmy Graham. I mean, this was a guy who 520 yards receiving, but 10 touchdowns. He was not used correctly in Seattle. When he first got there, they tried to make him a blocker. That was just a disaster. And now, I think Jimmy Graham, when he came from the Saints, was just like, my goodness, like this guy could be one of the best tight ends ever. Mm-hmm. He's kind of fell off a little bit. Since then, he's had a bad knee injury. 10 touchdowns, though. If I'm a young guy, or if I'm a young team with a young quarterback, I'm going after Jimmy Graham.
I got a couple teams that I think have been, obviously Seattle if they want to re-sign him. Baltimore has tried and failed to get a tight end. They spent a bunch of second-round picks. None of them have really worked out. How about the Packers? Imagine Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Graham. Green Bay does have over $20 million in cap space. They could maybe make it happen like they tried to do with Martellus Bennett, but money might be a little tight on that end.
Yeah, money might be tight, but man, that would be one awesome. Heck of a cheat code.
Hey, how about a return to Nola? The Saints can cut Kobe Fleener. Now, money is again going to be a little tight for New Orleans because of Drew Brees, and we'll talk more about that later in the show. Don't worry, he is on this list. But how about a reunion there?
I would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham, I fell in love with Jimmy Graham obviously when he started with the Saints, but the Saints used him, I thought, perfectly. he was not a tight end with the Saints. He was a big wide receiver, and I think that's the skill set Jimmy Graham needs to be used in.
All right, so Jimmy Graham checks in at number 10. Let's get then to number 9 on our list. We'll go to defense here. And I think one of the more interesting players this year, Ezekiel Ansah, a.k.a. Ziggy Ansah, had a fascinating year where for much of the year, he did nothing. And yet he ended up with 12 sacks because he had 6 in his last 2 games, plus 2 early in the year. So he showed up for like 3 games and then was almost a non-factor.
I mean, he is just an athletic specimen. I mean, did he even play? Like, I feel like
he was one of those guys that didn't really play football until he joined it late in his life, and then it's like, oh, I am really good at this. I should keep doing it.
Like, I want to know how they found Ansah, first off. But, like, here's a guy who, if he's on the field, he is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. But he's just not on the field. So, for me, I don't know if I want to make the investment in a guy like Ansah. So, I understand the upside with him. It's definitely there. But injuries, I'm a guy, I need my guys on the field.
I think what we'll see happen with Ziggy Ansah is some team's going to say, oh, what we saw in the last 2 games, he's healthy now. And I don't know if he actually is. So keep an eye on Ansah. I think he's going to get a big money deal from somebody. If I'm the Lions, I think you got to keep him. Like, you don't have a whole lot of pass rush outside of Ansah. You need him back on the team.
Yeah, I mean, again, everything is price related
yes,
when it comes to it, especially guys who are high risk. I don't want to say high risk. But a lot of money is going to go into him, and he's very talented. But when you have that much injury risk, money's the factor here.
All right, let's get now to number 8, and a player who maybe isn't a household name, but really should be, especially if you like offensive line play. Andrew Norwell was fantastic this year for Carolina. It is a down offensive market for offensive linemen. He is going to get paid. A former undrafted free agent, just 26 years old, was a first-team All-Pro member this year. Mitchell, he is in line for a massive contract.
And he should be. Like, the thing that I love about the Carolina Panthers, and I say it a lot when I come on, is they play tough. They bring that swagger, and it's because of Norwell. Like, he sets the tone in the trenches, and he's the reason why the Panthers can just beat up teams and allows teams. He's the reason I think Jonathan Stewart still has a job. Like, Jonathan Stewart's not a good running back anymore, and he's just – I love Norwell. A
lot of teams, you see the 4 on there. The Colts desperately need a guard, so do the Giants and the Dolphins. Also, maybe a team like the Niners, the Texans. Norwell's going to have a lot of interest. If I'm the Panthers, I am either A, giving him a big Kevin Zeitler-esque contract, or I might even franchise the man. Like, the Carolina really, I don't think, can afford to lose him at all.
Yeah, no. He is when you find a guard that is as good as he is, and I think he could play multiple positions if he really truly wanted to. I think he's athletic enough as an offensive lineman, so you can't give up pieces like that. I mean, this is how you build a team.
All right, some more comments here coming in. This one from Corey Isaiah King says Reed and Eifert would fit with Carolina. I believe he's referring to Eric Reed, the safety.
Okay.
I think that would be a fantastic fit. Now, I don't know if San Francisco's going to let Eric Reed go, but I think Carolina and Reed would be a really good pairing because they do need more safety help.
They do, and I mean, I think Reed also brings the toughness that they would look for, but 49, I don't think they're going to let him go. They got money.
And then to the issue there with Tyler Eifert brings us into the next comment here from Brittany Martin says, what about Greg Olsen? Greg Olsen, we think, will be back unless he retires. He's probably not going to be cut. He's got a relatively manageable cap hit. It's less than it was this year.
Yeah.
So Greg Olsen should be back. That's also why I don't think the Panthers add a guy like Tyler Eifert. Keep an eye on the draft, though, for a tight end for the Panthers.
Okay.
This comment coming in from Eric says, what's your opinion on Buffalo keeping or trading Tyrod Taylor? Mitchell, what you got?
Well, they're definitely not going to keep him.
Yeah, they just seem to hate Tyrod Taylor.
They do not like Tyrod Taylor whatsoever. But I don't know what team is going to go out and try to get Tyrod Taylor, because I think that deep down teams know that the Bills don't want him, so they're going to let him become a free agent.
That's exactly right. You might see a team try and wait and not give a pick and then just sign him for a cheaper contract anyway.
Correct.
All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by Man Crates. If you know an awesome guy who needs a gift, get him a Man Crate at mancrates.com. Talking barware, jerky grams, project hits, and so much more, Mitchell.
So much more. I mean, barware alone, Tom, is amazing. And I mean, I'm kind of into like this new thing down in Dallas, trying out all these different craft beers, and I would love to be able to make my own. You can do it. They have a personalized like kit for you. They have personalized knife kit. They have so many personalized kits that you can give somebody, you know, put that little extra stamp, little extra touch on it. It's pretty awesome stuff.
All right, folks, that's mancrates.com. We'll keep it rolling now with our NFL free agents entering this offseason here, as we will now move in to the top 7. We'll stick on the defensive side of the ball. Lamarcus Joyner, a kid I loved coming out of FSU. He was a great fit this year in Wade Phillips' system. He can kind of do it all. He can play strong safety. He can play free safety. He can play nickel corner. He can be basically a linebacker because he's a good tackler. He is going to draw a lot of interest, even though he was limited to just 12 games this year, was the number 3 safety per Pro Football Focus. This dude is a stud.
Let's say he's the Swiss Army knife on defense. And I mean, when you can get a player who is so versatile and you can play in so many different schemes, that just makes coaches drool. And then when you combine that with a guy like Wade Phillips, who I think is, I'm going to say, one of the best defensive minds of my time.
No one will disagree with you.
And again, but like, I'm also kind of worried at times when I see a really, really good defensive-minded coach, they get a player, and then maybe it's the coach who turns him into how great he is.
I saw the talent for Joyner at FSU. I think the Rams will keep him because they love John Johnson, who was a late-round pick out of Boston College. I think he'll, though, be another good fit there. I would be surprised if he leaves. Some options. We mentioned Eric Reed of the Panthers. They would love to get Joyner. The Chargers could use another safety. And maybe he wants to go home and play for the Bucs. Just some options there. I would stick in LA as well. So Joyner checks in at number 7. Let's get then to number 6 on our top 25 NFL free agents. The best receiver this offseason. How about Jarvis Landry, who is one of, if not the best slot receivers in the NFL?
I think he is the best slot receiver in the NFL. I mean, 112 catches. I mean, here's a guy who I believe has had over 100 catches the last, 3 years?
Yes.
Was in the draft class with Odell Beckham, so sure, he might get overshadowed by Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, but he was a great receiver coming out of LSU, and he is a super quick twitch wide receiver. And when you consider him playing with guys like Ryan Tannehill, Jay Cutler, and Matt Moore, for him to put up these kind of numbers, and the surprising number up there is 9 touchdowns. Small guy, but this season was able to find the end zone. I mean, I think he would fit in multiple schemes. Would love to see him get paired with Mitchell Trubisky. Landry
says he wants to stay in Miami, but money is a factor. He has been very clear. He wants to get paid. If I am the Chicago Bears, I am going to Jarvis Landry saying, hey, how much do you want? All right, cool. Here's an extra $2 million. Just to make sure you get him, because he and Mitchell Trubisky would be a perfect fit. Landry is best really inside of the first down marker in terms of 1st and 10.
Yes.
Keep him within 10 yards, and he thrives. That's where Trubisky thrives. So if I'm Miami, I might just franchise tag him, and I'm giving him a big contract because he wants to get paid. So keep an eye on Miami, and if he leaves, Chicago as well.
Chicago is my dream pick for Landry. I would absolutely love that. I don't know if you can cover him with inside the 10-yard line. I don't know if there's a corner that can stick with him.
Yep. Now let's take you through the top 25 that we've had for you so far. Carlos Hyde, Patrick Robinson, Star Loutlelei, Nate Solder, and Kyle Fuller. Then at 20, it's Sam Bradford, Dontari Poe at 19, Justin Pugh at 18, then 2 Vikings QBs, Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum. In the top 15 with a pair of Rams players in Sammy Watkins and Trumaine Johnson. Allen Robinson at 13, Sheldon Richardson checks in at 12. Malcolm Butler is 11, and then Jimmy Graham starts the top 10, followed up by Ziggy Ansah, Andrew Norwell, Lamarcus Joyner, and we just discussed Jarvis Landry. Hello, friends. Once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz, as we are now heading into the top 5 NFL free agents offseason. And just so you guys know, these guys probably aren't going to leave. That is the nature of NFL free agency. We start with number 5. Our number 1 defensive player, DeMarcus Lawrence. Tank had a massive year for the Cowboys.
Tank was literally a tank going up against defenses. And there was at times where I felt bad for just the amount of pain he would inflict on quarterbacks. But not only is he inflicting pain, he just never got tired. Like, he was like the Energizer Bunny. Like, they call Hike after the quarterback. Unbelievable season for Tank Johnson.
Lawrence, there you go. Cowboys are not going to let him hit the open market there. Here's what he said recently. I already know what my situation is. I really don't care about it because I already know how the Cowboys feel about me, and they know how I feel about the organization. My agent is going to take care of everything, i.e., we're going to make out a very long-term deal that gets me a lot of money. I'm going to be very happy to sign it.
And
that's what that means. All right, speaking of the Cowboys here, comment coming in from Tamara. Tucker Brown says, what about Bryce Butler? Do you think he is starting material? Mitch, you're shaking your head. Here's what I think, Tamara. If you can't top 400 yards in college or as an NFL player, you're not starting material. So no, Bryce Butler, as all receivers do, think they're the best guy out there, but he is not starter material. He is a number 4 receiver that thrives in taking the top off the defense. I mean, that's who he is.
He's also can't catch. He
had a lot of drops this year.
I like a receiver who could catch.
He caught 15 passes, dropped 3 of them. That's not a good ratio there. All right, so another comment here coming in from Tony says Dez is out. Don't be so sure, Tony. I would not be surprised if the Cowboys give Dez one more year, maybe work out a different contract after that or cut him if he has another rough year. But I think Dez will be back for the Cowboys next season. Once again, folks, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. We are inside the top 5 of our NFL free agents. So let's get to number 4 on our list as we get now to really the quarterback dominating side of things. And we go with Kirk Cousins. Now, Kirk Cousins is in a very interesting situation because no matter what happens, the dude is going to get paid in a big, big way. The question is, by what team? The Redskins have not handled this well. They've constantly franchise tagged him and kept saying, well, let's see how he does next year. And then next year comes, well, let's see how he does next year. And now they're stuck with something where they either lose him, give him a big contract that kind of hamstrings them, or they give him a franchise tag that costs him $34 million. For reference, Mitchell, Matthew Stafford's cap hit, the highest among all NFL quarterbacks, is $26.5 million.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you're the Redskins?
Well, I would look back, if you try to figure out how to go back in time, because that's what I would do. But if I'm the Redskins, I want Kirk Cousins to be my quarterback because I think Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback. I mean, 27 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. But then when you look at all the obstacles that he had to deal with this year, losing Terrell Pryor, losing Crowder, losing his best running back who's escaping me at the moment, Chris Thompson, he dealt with a lot this season, losing Jordan Reed, and he still put up those type of numbers. But paying a guy $34 million for 1 year, man, that's hefty.
Here's the danger the Redskins face. If they don't franchise tag Kirk Cousins, what is going to stop a team like the Browns with $122 million in cap space saying, okay, cool, Kirk, we're just going to front load the contract in a ridiculous way and give you like $40 million this year, knowing the Redskins can't match it.
And it's smart, and it's one of those things that they're going to face, but I don't know if they're going to pay him $34 million because I think at the end of the day, that's tough to do, and that's going to cripple them for this year. But again, when you have teams like the Browns who, have $112 million, I believe, to spend this year, like you said, they're going to front load it, and what are you going to do? You can't defend it.
Absolutely. All right, so Kirk Cousins checks in at number 4. Let's get then to number 3 on our top NFL free agents, the number 1 non-quarterback, Lev Bell, who has threatened to retire if the Steelers tag him again, which is dumb because A, he's not going to, and B, he would get so much money for 1 year if he did. Why would you retire and not get the money? Doesn't make any sense.
He's not going to retire. I mean, he's just putting a front. He'll do exactly what he did last year. He's going to sit out all training camp. He's going to sit out preseason, and then he's just going to show up and be Le'Veon Bell because Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, I will say, though, when you give a guy 406 touches, and he even didn't play the last week of the season, as a team, as an NFL team, I can understand why they don't want to pay him a lot of money. I mean, here's a guy who dealt with a lot of injuries, suspension. He's had off-field issues. I don't know if I would want to pay him that money.
At a position that has a typically short shelf life as well. You don't last beyond 30 unless you're Frank Gore as a halfback. Once you get 30, you're kind of at the point where things are kind of over for me at this point. So we would be stunned, and it's probably not going to happen outright if Bell retires because that would be silly on his part. And either way, the Steelers are going to franchise tag him. He is not going to hit the open market because they don't want a team like the Browns or the Niners or somebody of that nature just throwing in a bunch of money. So just keep an eye on that.
But again, Le'Veon does so much for that team, and I think a lot of times we see running backs get that fat paycheck, or any player get that fat paycheck, and then they kind of sit back. Le'Veon Bell, franchise tag him, he'll come back out, and he'll be great again.
All right, Bell is number 3. Let's get inside the top 2, and there will be 2 quarterbacks here, folks. And at number 2, we go with Drew Brees. And this Brees contract in general is kind of confusing. He is technically signed for another 2 or 3 years, but after this year, his contract voids automatically. So it's some funky moves that the Saints did, but what it means is no matter what happens with Drew Brees, whether he retires, whether he plays with the Saints or plays with a different team, he is going to count $18 million in dead money on the Saints cap next year. That's rough for the Saints, so they're going to have to re-sign him and eat that $18 million.
Wow, that's really interesting. I actually did not know that, but
it's rough.
Drew Brees, though, they can't let him go. He is the franchise. He is the most important player the Saints have ever had in that organization. He is probably the most famous person in that entire city. Drew Brees is going to be a Saint next season. Yeah,
and he said he expects to stay with the Saints, and I think he will retire as an Orleans Saint as well. And as long as Brees is on that team, their Super Bowl window remains open, although once he's gone, big old question mark behind him when they might want to have a rebuilding process or draft someone and groom behind Drew Brees. But we fully expect Drew Brees, folks, to stay with the Saints next year. That brings us to the number 1 free agent entering the offseason, and it is Jimmy GQ. Jimmy Garoppolo, the Niners quarterback, had a great start once he took over as a starter for the 49ers, Mitchell.
I mean, the 49ers, Tom, they won their last 5 games, and it's because of a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I've said before, going in and mastering the Kyle Shanahan system in your first year is very difficult. I mean, we've seen guys like Matt Ryan his first year really struggle with it. 21 touchdowns, 16 picks, and then Jimmy Garoppolo just kind of came in. Sure, the stats weren't eye-popping, but they won games. A team who just looked like had no business even being on the field, insert Jimmy Garoppolo, they won 5 games, and they were beating teams, like really good teams, like the Jaguars. They put up 44 against them. So Jimmy Garoppolo, not only is he good looking, he's pretty good at football.
Maybe some of you are surprised, hey, why is Drew Brees number 2 and Jimmy G number 1? Drew Brees is a better quarterback. I approached it in this way, and this is why I would also rather sign Jimmy G right now. If you are signing a quarterback, you probably want them to be there for more than a handful of years.
Correct.
So I will take the young franchise quarterback than a better quarterback right now in Drew Brees, who's not going to be there as long. That's why Jimmy G checks in at number 1 for me. That's why I got the like button going up.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw up the like as well, because I also think it's the system that they're in. Like the 49ers right now have a bright future. They have John Lynch has got a lot of money to play with. Kyle Shanahan, I think, is a great offensive mind. Jimmy Garoppolo, throw up that like.
All right, Dale here coming in says, who's your top receiver pick of the year? If you mean free agency, I think if you do need a slot guy, it's obviously Jarvis Landry. If you need an outside guy, it's Allen Robinson. For the draft, Calvin Ridley is kind of far and away the number 1 receiver this year.
Calvin Ridley, the guy that I comp him with, Stephon Diggs, and I think he actually just did something this past weekend. I could be wrong.
Something a little bit there from Stephon Diggs. All right, so one more reaction poll, folks, then we'll recap you with all the players we just discussed. Who would you prefer as a free agent pass catcher, Mitchell? Pick one. You are starting a receiving corps, so you need all positions needed.
I'm going to take Allen Robinson because I think he is the most dominant receiver on that list. Yeah, I think Jarvis Landry, like you said before, is the best slot guy, but I want a guy who I can put on my outside and build my entire team around, and for me, that's Allen Robinson. All
right, folks, let's take you through all the players we discussed, including the 5 that just missed the cut in Morgan Burnett, Dion Lewis, Marquise Lee, Tyler Eifert, and Eric Reed. Into the top 25, we go at number 25, Carlos Hyde, followed up by Patrick Robinson, Star Loutlelei, and then Nate Solder and Kyle Fuller. At number 20 is Sam Bradford. Dontari Poe is at number 19, Justin Pugh at 18, and then 2 Vikings QBs in Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum. At number 15 is Sammy Watkins, followed up by Trumaine Johnson, Allen Robinson, Sheldon Richardson, and Malcolm Butler. Starting the top 10 is Jimmy Graham. At number 9 is Ziggy Ansah. At number 8 is Andrew Norwell, Lamarcus Joyner at 7, and then Jarvis Landry at 6. And then at number 5 is DeMarcus Lawrence, Kirk Cousins at 4, Lev Bell at 3, Drew Brees at 2, and then Jimmy Garoppolo at number 1. All right, folks, once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. Thank you all for stopping by. If you missed anything, including our discussion of those players and latest NFL rumors, don't worry. We'll play the show for you, so don't go anywhere. That's going to up here in just a minute. But for Mitchell, I'm Tom Downey, and thank you to producer Brett Scott. You guys stay classy out there.